Hello, beautiful people. Today is 17th of July. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll see a quote from John F. Kennedy, the former US president. He says that right of every man are diminished when the right of one man are threatened. Now, guys, this particular message is more symbolic rather than being factual. So basically, it wants to say that when the right of even one man is threatened, it sets a precedence, it starts a domino effect when the repercussion on the entire society will come, and one by one all the stakeholders will be suffering a demise into the rights. A bad precedence is set whenever even a fragment of the society will suffer into the derailment of their rights. And here I will introduce the discussion on article number 377 of IPC. So guys, earlier it was decriminalized onto the pretext that a very minuscule section of society happens to be the LGBT community. So we might have the section 377. But later it was reaffirmed that even if the LGBT community is a minuscule section, we cannot deny them the rights. So guys, this could be the practical application here which we could see. Guys, you can use this particular quote and example into the GS paper number 2 questions related to the constitutional rights. Now, guys, the main question that I gave you yesterday. So, the question says that the EU and India have much in common, but the trade talks have not progressed well. What are the issues that are holding back signing a free trade agreement between India and EU? Also, enumerate the benefits for India once the bilateral trade and investment agreement is finalized. So, guys, as I say you every day, you need to divide your answer in three parts. Now, starting with the introduction. Yesterday, we had taken an elaborate article on this, so I don't think that you might have faced any substantial problem, but still, we can start by emphasizing that the European Union and India share the democratic ethos by which the convergence between the two entities have much more ground. After that, you can also say that the virtue of trade relations between the two entities is much larger because the European Union happens to be the biggest investor into the India as well as into the Indian businesses. Now, guys, starting with the introduction, we need to talk that though the potential is there, but still the optimum utilization of potential has not been carried because till now India doesn't have the FTA with the European because of certain apprehension. First of all, the European Union thinks that India have the protectionist foreign trade policy due to which the EU will not be able to have the benefit of this particular treaty. Secondly, guys, it has been said that India is not very much careful with respect to the trade liberalization, with respect to the simplification of export import, and this thing also can be a irritant here. Thirdly, guys, the recently concluded Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is pointing that India is rather more inclined towards the inwardization rather than the globalization, so this could be an issue. After that, the IPR protection laws in India have not been always appreciated by the Western countries, particularly the issue of compulsory licensing into the IPR Act, as India had used compulsory licensing into the recent times. Then, guys, there is one more issue that on other fronts also European Union and India has irritants, such as onto the issue of human right abuse in J&K, secondly onto the Constitutional Amendment Act, etc. After this, guys, EU also happens to be apprehensive with respect to the uncertainty in India. For example, in 2016, India brought the model BIT and said that all the bilateral investment treaties which India had signed before 2016 will be renegotiated into the line of the new model BIT. So, guys, these things bring uncertainty and creates a bad image. So, these are the irritants. However, guys, if signed, the benefits are huge because, as I have told you, that the internal demand is slump and India can access the external demand. It will give fillip to the export sector. Moreover, renewed FDI will also be helping to plug the forex imbalance that India is having, will generate employment, will bring the economic respite. So, guys, these will be the bare framework on which you will be writing. So that's it. And now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper. But guys, before going into the newspaper overview, you might be having certain doubts, and it is my responsibility that I should clear. First of all of you want that it should be uploaded as early as possible, and exactly that is also my attempt. But friends, there are issues which need careful analysis, and I don't want that even 1 second of yours is wasted on my video. So my only attempt is to give you only high quality content without wasting your time. And preparing that kind of lecture, making the synopsis, notes, etc., takes a time, and I will in no circumstances will be compromising on quality in just to get some few more subscribers or viewers. So guys, it will be taking some time because quality compromise I can't afford. So but still it will be uploaded as early as possible. Then the second thing is that guys, into the UPSC, the law of conservation of resources prevail. You need not to do everything under the sun. You need to see that what are the important issues which could be important for our UPSC exam. Therefore always the smart work happens to be a strategy into the UPSC and not the hard work. And in that particular direction guys, we need to be selective with respect to the scope of newspaper. But still I every day give you the newspaper overview just to instill a confidence into your mind that nothing has been left arbitrarily. So for that particular thing, just have a trust and a faith. Then thirdly guys, along with this video, I every day also upload the PDF of the newspaper on our Telegram, and the factual news which might not be there into the Hindu, they are covered there, so you can refer there also. And now guys, let's start the overview of the paper. So guys, the first news is with respect to the issue going on into the Rajasthan. Now, first of all, the political horse trading, etc., is not important, but today the speaker has been mentioned, as well as some anti-defection law issue could be attached here. So we will see some issues here. Then, guys, after that, the J&K internet issue, so Anuradha Bhasin judgment and all such thing will be seen here. Then, guys, MMR has been mentioned. So in this particular direction, some important concepts will be seen. Then, guys, here the consular diplomatic relation, we will be seeing a bit of aspects here. Then guys, into the city page, you can see that nothing important has been given there. Then again here also nothing important has been given, and the same thing is carried here also. So guys, finally we'll be going into the editorial page. The first editorial is prediction, pandemic and public health, so we'll see some good points here. Then guys, the Supreme Court's recent judgment with respect to the disabled rights, will be seeing the issues here. Then guys, Indian University and their subdued role has been mentioned, so we'll be seeing the issues involved here. Then guys, a passing reference will be taking as how the UGC is being subverted. Then guys, Gandhis should be disengaged, nothing important has been given here. Now guys, the decision to make Hagia Sophia as a mosque has been mentioned, not that much important for our exam because it is an internal matter of Turkey. Moreover, already we had covered this particular aspect. Then guys, only the news from our earlier pages have been carried. Now guys, here we will be briefly seeing that what is happening here with respect to the Supreme Court's examination of Kerala Act. Now guys, here the postal ballot has been mentioned, so we'll be seeing the issues involved here. Then guys, moving forward, see, just 2 3 days back we had seen the entire issue of Iran, China, India, CPC, Connect Central Asia, String of Pearls, etc. And for a few days now, the issues or the news will be coming onto the same line, but nothing substance is there. So guys, I'll say that you can avoid them very safely if the background is clear, which we had already done. Then guys, moving forward, the judicial review and the speaker's decision has been mentioned, so we'll be seeing the issues here. Now guys, here again you can see that nothing important has been given. Showcase page not important for our exam, and onto the world page also, that you can see that nothing important news has been given. Now guys, on to the business also, the corporate news has been given, not important for our exam. The sports page, nothing substantial has been given. So guys, now let's take up the newspaper analysis in detail. Now first of all guys, before going into the news, a disclaimer that you don't need to go into ball by ball development into these political affairs. Only the constitutional matters associated here you need to see, other developments are not important. However, today we will see one constitutional dimension which could be independently usable for our exam. Now for the starters guys, in Rajasthan there are main three things. One is the ruling party, that is primarily the Congress, other is the opposition, you all know, and third is a group of MLAs led by the Sachin Pilot, a Congress leader. Now, guys, these group of MLAs and Sachin Pilot, they have skipped the Congress legislative party meetings and are avoiding the Congress leaders. And now it is a speculation that these MLAs might be joining the opposition party, or they might be forming a new party, or anyhow they are intended to cause the damage to the ruling Congress party into the state, and a resort politics have started here. Now, you all know that there is the 10th schedule into our constitution, which was added by the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and it provides for the anti defection law if a party member leaves his party and joins another party. Now, see, the speaker has been given the authority here that he will decide the matters related to the defection. Now, guys, into this entire episode which is going on, what happened? The speaker of Rajasthan Assembly had served the notice to the 19 MLAs, including the Sachin Pilot, that they will be disqualified from the house. Now, guys, these MLAs have sent their petition to the High Court and have said that till this particular time, neither we have defected, nor we had said that we will be defecting, nor we have any intention to betray the ruling party. We have our allegiance to the Congress. So, on what particular basis or what particular ground the speaker has served the notice? The notice of speaker is malicious and devoid of any factual information. Therefore, the notice of the speaker has been challenged, and the same thing you can see here into the headline also. Now, guys, that is one thing. We'll go into the constitutional dimension. See, on one hand, there is a viewpoint that the action of speaker is not good, because anti-defection law nowhere talks about killing the intra-party democracy. And if speakers or if members are putting their vent forward or putting their grievance forward, then they should not be reprimanded for that particular thing, and they should not be intimidated. This is one viewpoint in favor of the MLAs. Now, there is another viewpoint also. It is being said that we all know the horse trading which has taken place into the Karnataka, into the Madhya Pradesh, and it is the same sequence which is unfolding. Moreover, under the same anti defection law, the party discipline can be maintained and the directions of whip has to be respected. And as members are violating the whip's repeated direction, therefore the action can be taken under the anti defection law. So, first of all, these both are the viewpoints here. Now, guys, we will judge the actions onto the basis of the Supreme Court judgments. So, here the Kyoto Holohon judgment becomes very important. Guys, here the Supreme Court has said that the actions of the speaker cannot be held in judicial review before the speaker or the presiding officer has taken the final decision. And guys, under this judgment, if we see the present action, then the members have moved to the High Court for the judicial review of the actions of the speaker. When speaker has not taken any final action, he had just served the notice. So, into the light of Kyoto Holohan, the action of the MLAs going to the High Court might not be admissible at this particular point. But this is also the truth that some other alternative dimension can also be held by the judiciary. However, guys, for our exam, if such a case comes, then these are the constitutional matters. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Friends, here we can see that the decision on J&K internet issue has been put off by the panel. So, being an important constitutional matter, we will trace this issue. Now I will be taking from very scratch. See, guys, in 2019, you know that the Article 370 was abrogated, and the presidential rule of 2019 was imposed onto the Jammu and Kashmir, by which the J&K became the part of India. Moreover, J&K was also reorganized. And now, guys, because of this particular matter, there was a fear that there will be the backlash by the insurgent group. So, therefore, the 4G internet was suspended into the J&K. Now, guys, whenever the internet is shut down into the J&K, these three acts are used. That is the IT Act of 2000, Telegraph Act of 1885, and CRPC 1973. So, by using the rules framed under the Telegraph Act, particularly this time, the internet was shut down. Now, as the matter developed, in mean course of time, 2G services were restored, but 4G services continued to be terminated. So, guys, in this particular direction, a petition was made into the Supreme Court, and it was said that a functional internet connection happens to be an important part of humans' life, and the internet it makes available a large number of other fundamental rights. For example, guys, see, into the wake of the shutdown that is in J&K, and after that the lockdown which has been imposed into the entire country, the students are dependent on to the online education or the online tutorials. But in the wake of non-functional or very slow internet, students can't access the education, so their fundamental right under article number 21A is being violated here. After that, guys, there are a large number of traders who are now dependent onto the online sales into the wake of shutdown as well as lockdown which is going on. And now if the internet will not be there, they can also not carry their trade and profession. So, guys, here article number 9 subclause 1 subclause G is being suspended, which talks about the free trade and profession. Now, the third is that, guys, the freedom of speech and expression is also guaranteed by the functional internet, because here a person can propagate his ideas, and if internet is not there, then freedom of speech and expression under article number 19 subclause 1 subclause A is also suspended. And even it was said that ultimately article number 21, which talks about the dignified life, personal liberty, it is also being suspended by all this issue. And here in this background, the Supreme Court gave a judgment into the Anuradha Bhasin case, which is also called as the Internet Shutdown case. And here Supreme Court recognized that the freedom of internet, for example, using internet for trade and profession, using internet for education, using internet for speech and expression, has been guaranteed, and therefore the protection is given here, and any violation is a violation of the fundamental right. But at the same time, Supreme Court also laid the test of proportionality. It means that in any action government needs to carry, the cost is to benefit analysis. It means that what action you are taking, you need to see that what benefits will be coming. For example, action here is suspension of the 4G. So you need to see that the cost is proportional to the benefit or not. Equal benefit is coming or not, and if there is less benefit or no benefit, then that particular thing cannot be done. So this was all which was said into the Anuradha Bhasin judgment. Now, guys, a month later, Supreme Court gave a new ruling and said that for time being, 4G can be refused or can be suspended, but government needs to establish a committee which will have the representative of Ministry of Home Affairs as well as representatives of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and they need to submit a report that what are the benefits which are coming by the suspension of 4G, what is the logic, and all these matters. So all this matter was around the month of the May, and now, guys, it is July. And again, a petition has been made into the Supreme Court that no action has been taken onto the Supreme Court's directive that a committee should be made, and a contempt of court has been made by the government. So in this particular direction, the government had said that we do have formed the committee, which also met twice, but the committee had deferred the decision to remove the restriction because of the terror situation which is going on into the Jammu and Kashmir. And even committee had said that they had given the 2 month time to Jammu and Kashmir to file a report on the actual ground conditions, and after 2 months actually the decisions will be carried. So, guys, please follow this particular trail because it happens to be a very important matter concerning with article number 370 and its aftermath. So this is all into this particular matter up to date, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we can see that a steep decline has been registered into the maternal mortality ratio of India. Now, first of all, before going into the matter, guys, what is the maternal mortality? So, according to WHO, it is the death of a mother or a woman during the time of her pregnancy or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy. Now, this particular number is calculated as 1 lakh live births. So, in during 1 lakh live births, how many mothers lost their life? So, this data is improving, and you can see that from 130 in 2014 to 16, now it has been registered at 113. Now, one more question comes, that from where we had found this particular data. So, the data has been released into the bulletin of the sample registration survey. Now, guys, one very important thing for prelims, who releases the sample registration survey, who compiles it? So it is compiled by the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India. And guys, he is not under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Please keep this particular thing in your mind. Now, according to this particular survey, we are making an improvement. However, guys, if we talk about the Sustainable Developmental Goals, you know that there are 17 goals, but under 17 goals, there are 169 target. So SDG target number 3.1 says that by 2030, the MMR needs to be 70 per 1 lakh. And seeing on this particular matter, we have the latest of 113. So still a large distance has to be traveled. Now, guys, when we see some good and some bad examples, then the states such as Assam and MP had even worse, while some southern states such as Kerala and Tamil Nadu has performed exemplary, and he have even surpassed the target placed by the Sustainable Developmental Goals. So, guys, this is all about this, and this data can be much needed into the social justice related questions. So, please keep it in your mind. So, that's it. Now, we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we will just see a quick brief which could be important for our exam. See, Kulbhushan Jadhav has been arrested by Pakistan onto the charges of spying as well as espionage related activities. However, Government of India denies any relation between the Kulbhushan Jadhav and Indian intelligence agencies. It has been said that he was a retired ex-Indian Navy personnel, but now he was doing his business into the Iran, and as of present he did not had any connections, and onto the wrongful intention he has been arrested. Now, guys, as the matter unfolded, a military tribunal in Pakistan awarded the death sentence to Kulbhushan Jadhav, and on that particular premise, India approached the International Court of Justice, and ICJ ruled in the favor of India. Now, guys, the matter is still going on, and government needs to file a review petition again onto the death sentence was which was given. But to file this review petition, consent from the accused, or in this case Kulbhushan Jadhav, is needed to be taken. And here government had said that Pakistan is not allowing the free access to Jadhav, so that government can take the consent. Now, guys, in this entire matter, only one thing we need to see. Whenever this matter is coming, one particular convention is often mentioned, that is the Vienna Convention on Consular Relation 1963. So please keep this one in your mind, as there are large number of Vienna conventions on other matters also. So here again, if Pakistan will not provide the access, India can invoke this particular convention again. So just keep in mind. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks about the predictions, pandemics, and public health. Guys, it gives an alternative viewpoint which could be used into the essay with respect to the COVID-19 response. Now, guys, here it has been argued that the human development is guided by two things, or two particular trends have been seen. First of all, humans have developed the immense capabilities that they can predict and forecast the event beforehand, and therefore they are equipped to plan for their future. Though sometimes this plan can also go wrong, but most of the time, if abided by the plan, then success could be achieved. Second trait of human development is that we have a cognitive generosity. So, cognitive generosity means that whatever knowledge or intellect we have, we like to share that knowledge or intellect with the people. For example, I am doing so with the help of this YouTube channel. However, moving forward. So, guys, these two traits are there. Now, when these two traits are combined, guys, there is no rocket science to tell that we would have predicted the COVID 19. How? Because earlier also the pandemics such as SARS, MERS, H1N1, etc., have impacted. Moreover, guys, seeing the genome structure of the SARS and COVID 19, the comparison between them is so strikingly similar that we could have predicted that there could be the further mutation of the SARS also, which is nothing but the COVID 19. And as we have the cognitive generosity, it should have been well published into the media platform, etc., that such a pandemic could be hitting. However, onto the ground, guys, we see that there was no beforehand predictions with respect to the COVID 19, and even if they were published, they were not given that much attention. We did not invest it into the medical infrastructure. Why? Because simply there is no quick gain by investing into the public health. They simply will be giving return into the long time. And always we are driven by the greed and we tend to give more importance to the benefit at hand. And that thing happened when even the government gave precedence to the immediate greed or benefit. We always talked about the ease of doing business by going for more privatization, by giving more clearances to the corporate, etc., and never emphasized onto the public health and health related infrastructure. If that thing would have been focused, then guys, even when the COVID 19 started, it could have been contained and such grave consequences for the humanity would not have came. And this is hallmark of all the countries. For example, if we take the example of USA, there is a particular office or a particular department which has been created, that is the predict, and the role of the predict department of USA was to anticipate the pandemics and help the countries which might be most vulnerable so that the pandemic doesn't spreads throughout the world. But it has been seen that dramatically just before few months of COVID-19, the Predict office was shut down by the US administration onto the directions of the Donald Trump. So this also shows that how the political economy or the political dispositions had become overpowering over the institutions and crippling the institutions which could have acted into the times of adversity. Hence, further, it has been said that now it is the time that the people should collectively come together and should mental or re-mental the institution which have the capacity to avoid the pandemic and such catastrophes. Now, into the countries where the institution has been dismantled, they need to be rementaled. For example, Predict Office of USA. And the in countries where the institution have never been mentaled, they are needed to be mentaled now. For example, the health in our country has never been made, so we need to act now. Moreover, guys, there is also a need that the scientific community as well as intellectual community also needs to be nudged. It has been said that there was the prediction that a pandemic will be coming, but prediction is a very vague term. For example, it can happen in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, and such vague prediction will not be helping. Pinpointedly, a time frame has to be predicted. For example, within 6 months, within 10 months. So scientific community should also be working on this particular thing, and the precise estimations should be given so that well before in hand we can ready our health infrastructure. We can accumulate the essential such as PPEs, masks, ventilators, etc., so that at the end of the day we are in a better condition to contain the pandemic if it comes into the future. So guys, these are the key takeaways here, and now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular editorial is talking about the lost autonomy of the higher educational institutions. Now, guys, if we talk about the education's evolution, then around the 19th and early 20th century, a large number of higher educational institutions were made, particularly after the Woods Dispatch of 1854. Now, guys, from the very start, the higher educational institutions were centered to meet the colonial demands of the learned academia, as well as to spread the Western ideas in India so that Indian civilization and values could be ridiculed. So they were crafted and manipulated. And the example of this we can also see into the creation of the University Commission of 1902 by the Lord Curzon to give the direction as how the rising nationalism and subversive activities into the universities can be killed. However, guys, systematically all these things were rectified after independence in 1947 when the new wave of education reforms were carried. And in this direction, the institutions such as the IIT, IIM, etc. were established, and they were characterized by certain peculiar features. For example, they discarded elitism, and these institutions were created to spread the pan India education so even the deprived sections can reap the fruits of education. Secondly, these institutions were given the financial and functional autonomy so that they can fulfill the objectives for which they were created. And secondly, the focus of all these institutions was to reshape the academic landscape of our country. And because of the efforts made by the government as well as these institutions, a trickle down effect occurred where the other educational institutions also reformed them in terms of curriculum, in terms of management, and all of them started to work relentlessly for the higher education in India. And guys, into this particular thing, a large number of organization, institutions, bodies, unions were made, and all of them were working for the higher education's welfare. But all these things started to change after 2005 when the National Knowledge Commission was established in order to bring the reform into the education. But here it has been said that such reforms had worked into the counterproductive direction. Now, the education sector was looking forward to the American system and forgot the lessons of India's own educational system on which India was built. And guys, here in this direction, various reforms were introduced. For example, the cafeteria approach of the UGC, under which the choice based credit system was introduced. Now, guys, under this choice based credit system, a student will be offered the courses divided in three categories, that is, a core, elective, and the third is the soft skill or the ability enhancing. Now there will be the wide list of subjects which will be offered, and any of the subjects a person or the student can opt for his core, elective, or the soft skill. Moreover, under the cafeteria approach, the student will not only choose the courses, rather can also choose the speed at which he will learn. Along with it, other reforms were also brought. For example, bringing the semester system along with introducing the 4 year period for the graduation courses, etc. Now it has been said that all these reforms had worked counterproductive and nothing substantial has came out of this approach. Here, the academician's responsibility and academician's role to design the course, to design the curriculum has been undermined, and just a carcass privatization of everything in universities has been carried in introducing these kind of reforms. And the same thing is being seen right now into the time of pandemic. Now if we see, the entire role with respect to the education has been assumed by the UGC as well as the central government authority. Now only they are dictating that on what terms the education, examination, etc. will be going. And this thing we can see that even when teachers showed their reservation with respect to the examination because of the COVID-19, government is not paying any attention. And now, guys, a kind of a nexus of government as well as the bureaucrats are taking all the decision with respect to the education. And here academicians are being jeopardized, they are not being taken into the consultative process, and without the academicians the academics will not be successful. Therefore it is high time that government should not show the reluctance and the real and practical situation with respect to involving the teachers, with respect to the present pandemic. All these things should be looked in. So guys, that's all about this particular issue. Now we'll move into next. Now, guys, here in this particular article, we can see that recently the Supreme Court has ruled that disabled people are also on par with the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in terms of receiving the benefits such as the affirmative action, preferential treatment, etc. Now, guys, earlier the Delhi High Court in 2012 had said this particular thing, and now the same thing has been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court and had said that the Delhi High Court was right in saying this particular thing. Now we have already discussed this entire issue on 13th of July newspaper analysis at this particular timestamp. So guys, in the same technicalities we will not be going. Now I will give to you some additional points as you what you can use into the examination. See guys, there is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the People with the Disabilities. And India is a signatory as well as had ratified this particular convention. And in this particular direction, in 2016, we had also made the Right of Person with Disabilities Act. And here, it has been talked that the disabled people should be given rights for their social welfare. But still, the benefits given to the disabled are less than the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Now, guys, there is an argument that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are the sufferers of the social disability, whereas the disabled people, they are the sufferers of the physical disability. And the reservations are a tool to correct the social disability, such as discrimination, taboo, untouchability, etc. And as physically disabled people doesn't faces the social disability also, so therefore there is no need to give them the benefit on par with the SCs and STs. But guys, there is the argument against this particular argument. If we see the data from the census of 2011 2001, we'll see that there are a substantial number of people who are disabled and they are out of education, they are out of employment. So there happens to be actually a social discrimination where these people are not getting the proper representation. And even if we talk about the 2001 census, then the literacy rate among disabled people is just at 51%, which is very much less. And when these indicators will be low, automatically social disability will come even for the physical disabled. So guys, giving them on par benefit is a progressive direction into the ensuring social justice in our nation. So friends, that's it about this, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, into this particular news item, the Supreme Court had said that they will examine the Kerala Act on animal and bird sacrifices. Now, into this particular news item, we don't need to go into the technicalities of this entire matter. But guys, here a kind of a fodder come for the issues associated with the ethics, morality, as well as social customs. So, guys, first of all, if I tell you about the act, then there is Kerala Animals and Bird Sacrifices Prohibition Act 1968. Under this particular act, it has been said that the sacrifice of animals and birds in temple to please the deity is not allowed. But at the same time, killing an animal for the human consumption has been allowed. So guys, a kind of a dichotomy has been created where you cannot kill the animal to please the deity, but you can kill the animal to please your own appetite. So a kind of an inequality comes here, number one. Moreover, guys, there are other acts also. For example, Prevention of Cruelty Against Animal Act 1960. Here also it has been said that the killing of animal is allowed, but cruelty of animal is not allowed. So is it logical to say that killing is not cruelty? So guys, these are the questions which might not be justified onto the logical grounds. Now guys, coming into the Kerala issue, so here it has been said that the act bans the killing of animal for the religious practices, and in a way fundamental right to practice the religion is being taken. Moreover, when it is being said that the for personal consumption animal can be killed and for the religious rituals it cannot be killed, it is just a kind of creation of an arbitrary classification, and inequality is coming. And guys, even into the article number 14, there has been said that there should not be arbitrary classification. So guys, all these issues are involved here. So these are the matters, these are some thought provoking issues on which you should ponder upon. However, a state specific legislation and this thing is not that important. So guys, that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now guys, here one issue we will see. If you remember, just a few days ago I had told you about increasing the voter participation, particularly during the time of pandemic. There we had seen the issue of the postal ballot, and I had told you that the postal ballot, now election commission had said, will also be extended to the senior citizens, so that they do not need to come to the polling booths because they are more vulnerable to the COVID-19. And guys, as the Bihar elections were due, election commission said that into the Bihar the postal ballot for the senior citizens will be exercised. But now guys, coming into the news, the Bihar government has said that they have the logistic challenges. They will not be able to implement the postal ballot, so therefore it should be cancelled for the Bihar. So guys, the election commission had listened to the Bihar and they had said that into the Bihar, the postal ballot facility will not be exercised. Rather, some extra precautions for the old age people will be taken. So, guys, this could have been a very good reform, because we had seen that large number of people are not able to participate, not only because they don't want to, but because they are not able to. So, that could have been a good reform. But the political parties have shown the opposition, and due to the logistic problems the matter is now being dropped. However guys, it has been said that for a very restricted category postal ballots will be allowed. So they will be allowed for the electors over 80 years of age, person with disabilities, essential service workers, and the ones who are infected with the COVID-19 or are suspected. So guys, that 65 a plus age classification has now gone. So guys, though you don't need to be go into such nitty gritties, but as a powerful thought, extension of e-postal ballot to the larger categories would have been a very good reform. So guys, that's it, and now we'll move to the question section. Now please pause the video and try to answer the question. So first question is with respect to the pneumonia, because for this an indigenous vaccine has been developed recently. So please identify the correct code. Now question number 2 is with respect to the state of food security and nutrition SOFI report. So please identify the correct statement. Now question number 3 is with respect to the ecology. Please read the statement and identify the correct code. Now, question number 4 is with respect to the India Energy Modeling Forum. Please read the statement and identify the correct code. Now, guys, the main question for today is from GS paper number 2, Social Justice, and it is a 10 marker question. Now, guys, the question says that recently disabled has been provided with same entitlement as SC/ST. Do you think that this step by Supreme Court will cure all the challenges that the disabled are facing? Discuss. So, guys, please write it, and tomorrow we'll discuss the framework for this question. Guys, I hope you are liking our initiative. Thank you so much.